Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. I'm Nicholas Sacco, your host once again. This is episode 28 of season 7, or episode 201, if you're counting from the beginning. And the 2025 season has come to an unfortunate end. We were no match for a brutal Brisbane Lions outfit in the preliminary final on Saturday, completing a campaign full of highs and lows. Today, we reflect, question, and celebrate the makings of the 2025 season, chat through the moments that mattered at the MCG on the weekend, listen to what our fans had to say on SpeakPie, talk to our final guest, the crowd competition winner, and look ahead to what might be a pretty busy off-season. And it is a sad state of affairs in the Backchat studio, but as we have done before, we will do our best to get ourselves through what is a disappointing loss. And to do that, it's Marcus Callahan and it's Luke Humphries. Boys, this is the third preliminary final loss we've had to cover on the Pies Nation podcast, and they don't get any easier.
Yeah, welcome back, gentlemen. The highs and lows of footy, last week celebrating episode 200, and what a week it was in the lead up to this prelim. And this week, what can be said other than we left it all out there, and unfortunately, we do not progress to a grand final in season 2025. A lot to unpack, and I think this will be the therapy of all therapy sessions for this year. Once again, a real shock and a real disappointment to have to end on such a sour note. But Lukey, that's it for the Pies this year.
I think just not good enough. Not good enough this season, unfortunately, and not good enough on the night. Felt a different feeling, I guess, or a vibe after losing this prelim compared to previous ones that we have lost. And I actually thought about it yesterday. I think my attendance prelim record, I'm 2 wins and 4 losses. So yes. 2012 prelim in Sydney, I went to.
Oh, all right.
So I was living in Sydney at the time. 2018 win, 2019 loss, 22 loss in Sydney again, and 23 win, obviously winning the flag, and then this year loss. So they've been tough to go through a few losing prelims, but this, I wouldn't say the easiest, but it felt different to previous years. I just felt like probably for the last 4, 6 to 8 weeks, it's just I haven't felt like we've been good enough to be the best side in it. And I know that Adelaide game gave us a lot of hope, but still so many issues out there, so many cracks and things that just haven't been fixed across the past couple of months. And yeah, I think we got to see a full display of that on Saturday against Brisbane.
You talk about not being good enough. Did you feel anxious after watching Geelong on Friday night, thinking, gee, I don't know if we're at this level?
Yeah, no doubt. And really that set the tone for what we thought we might get the opportunity to play off against. But, gee, there was some very early moments in this match, Nico, which we'll get to, which, again, set the tone for the evening. And we've spoken about how these little moments just can become everything in a prelim, and the margins for error are just so small. And unfortunately, we were just on that side of these 50-50 moments where repeatedly throughout the match we just couldn't quite take our opportunities. There was like some obvious highlights, and we'll get to those, which were sensational, but the overall vibe of this match was just a very glass half empty feel for me. And yeah, I'm certainly would have been worried this week had we come up against Geelong, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's not waste much time, and we'll just get into the crux of it, I think. Get it out of the road. Let's start with the pod that caught our eye. Again, always a curious segment because I'm keen to see what your perspectives were. Unfortunately, I don't feel like there'll be too many positives that come out of this one, but let's see what we came up with.
Yeah, thanks. I'll kick off with Geordie De Goey, and it's really disappointing that I have to speak about Geordie in a way that we're not really familiar with in big finals. We know that his track record stacks up, and I'm saying this with that in mind, but I just felt like after Pendles went down, we really needed someone to stamp their authority in that midfield, and no question that the way they all had to change their roles would have been really intense, given they were up against it, and we lost the stoppages heavily against the Lions earlier in the season. But yeah, just didn't see Geordie get anywhere near the level we know he's capable of. And I know he had a shot on goal early and was trying to do some creative things with his hands, but we just couldn't link up. And I just know that without a Bobby Hill out there, for me, other than Nick Dacos, maybe a Darcy Moore, Geordie to go is the one that can really spark the crowd. And the crowd was sensational throughout this game. But there's probably a lot of other guys I could go into in that midfield mix, Nico. But I've called Geordie's name. I was really, really excited for him peaking at the right time of year given his preparation, and unfortunately that didn't transpire in this ball game. So it leaves a lot to be desired, and again, probably I don't want to say his worst finals performance, but in recent memory, I can't remember too many where he hasn't had that moment or moments where he's really changed the momentum of the game, and unfortunately just couldn't do it in this one.
Well, I guess because he had built up to this point of the season so nicely, got himself back into the side after hiatus with his injury concerns, slowly worked his way through a few games, a good performance against Melbourne to end the season, and a riveting game against the Crows in that qualifying final. So you're right, you felt he was primed to come in and attack that prelim and stand up when things weren't going our way so early, but not alone, but not to be for him, Jules.
It felt like a lack of that across the board. It was, again, once Pendles wasn't out there, it's like, who other than Nick, obviously, but who else? Who else is going to stand up and take charge here? And for me, it just felt like everyone went into their shells for the rest of that first quarter, and obviously the run that Brisbane went on to finish that quarter. Proud of the effort in that second quarter to overturn that and bring it back to us. But, yeah, again, in the second half, it went back the other way and just felt like Geordie, someone that we expect at his age now to be the guy that stands up in the big moments, and he has done it in the past, but when you lose someone like Pendles so early, we needed a bit more from him, so a bit disappointing. For me, I'm going to go positive because Geordie was going to be my negative one, but it's taken already, so I'll go Jamie Elliott. I hope we're not seeing him that as his last game in the black and white, but you just never know with footy these days. But an incredible season, and he tops it off with an incredible game and one of the best marks you'll ever see live at the footy. I actually was in awe of that moment. I don't know if you boys were the same, but just seeing it live and going, holy moly, that is as good a mark as you'll ever see. And it just summed up an incredible season for Billy. He finished with the 4 goals on this night and was sort of the one shining light and the guy that was keeping us in it. And when this forward line has struggled to function at many times across this season, Billy's always been there, able to peg a few back. So credit to him for an incredible season. He finished with 60 goals.
Huge.
Which is a career high. So exceptional season at his age, and where we thought maybe in the last couple of years he may start to drop off, he's actually gotten better than ever. So hopefully we'll be seeing a few more games in the black and white for him, but no matter what, have loved his time as a player in Collingwood, and we'll be very sad to see him go if he does indeed go. But
4 goals, 16 touches, 8 marks, few of those contested, 4 tackles, 5 inside 50s. Definitely a standout on the night. I'll swing it back to the negative in a very similar pathway to Marcus and what he was touching on with Geordie de Goey. And I don't really want to single him out, but I'm going to in this instance because I feel like it was another instance of what the game felt like to me. Still, Sidebottom is my favourite player of all time, and he always will be. And I don't want to put the onus on him too much, but he had 18 disposals at 50% efficiency and got absolutely mauled by Hugh McCluggage around the middle of the ground. And unfortunately, it was a big part as to why we did lose the game. He had 5 turnovers as well. Again, you talk about wanting people to stand up when Scott Pendlebury goes down, and you expect to turn to some of those veterans who possess a bit of class and, have that composure around them, particularly in those heated situations, especially in Steele's instance, who's been in so many finals you can't even count. I feel like maybe in this instance, because he did have a specific role of giving Hugh McCluggage some attention, it may have taken away his game of being able to be that facilitator and be the one that can be the efficient man. And again, coming off a really strong qualifying final, you probably expected a little bit more to come out of Steele. But yeah, between the work he was trying to do on Hugh McCluggage and what he did with the footy when he had it in hand, was a pretty disappointing performance all round. I think the fact that he was named in Collingwood's best probably says a lot about how little contributors we did have across the ground, because he wasn't our worst Steele Sidebottom, but he was nowhere near our top 5 or 6 on Saturday night. And again, whether it's through his own fault or not, I do feel like it was to a certain extent. Yeah, I was just really disappointed and was hoping he was also going to be another one that stood tall. And if he wasn't getting the job done on McCluggage, which you could tell pretty early in the game, Marcus, well, then a move you felt like had to be made at some point. But again, we just didn't have the soldiers.
Yeah, and I think that out on the full by Steele was really typified his night. I mean, Steele side bottom 45 out in space.
Oh, yeah.
You almost put it in the book 8-9 times out of 10, and he sprays it on the full. So that was just another moment in the match where it was clear that we weren't taking our opportunities. And yeah, Steele alongside Geordie De Goey, Jack Crisp, and a handful of others, you really would hope they would seize the moment and see Pendles going out as an obviously massive moment in the game, but also an opportunity to step into something else. But whether it's due to the difference in the age groups of the Brizzy midfield versus ours, they've really had our length over the last couple of occasions. I don't think Pendles going out of this game was the difference, but certainly not seeing some of our tried and tested champions be able to match them, Nico, was a disappointment.
So I think the general consensus from a lot of Collingwood supporters, certainly us four on the Pies Nation podcast, is that, and you alluded to it very early in the show, Marcus, that the tone was set in that first 5 minutes. The ball goes up, Nick Dacos bursting out of the centre, free space, perfect clearance, Cox with the brilliant lead into the pocket, hits him lace up, drops the chest mark, causes a stoppage. And then you see a few minutes later Pendlebury going to the back of the bench after going down the race initially, and he's ruled out with a calf. I mean, I can't remember if we spoke about it specifically this time last week about how crucial it was to have an ideal start against this Brisbane Lions team, because they are ones that are capable of putting goals on the board in a very quick manner, which they did quite a bit last week. So it would have just been the perfect nerve settler very early. And for Mason as well, who is a very, as we know, a confidence player. And if you had have taken that mark and kicked the goal early on, well, who knows how things could have turned out early in the match. But yeah, when you see that happen initially in such a huge game, it really does put you on the back foot, and the nerves do creep in a little bit more. And it was just unfortunate to see that in hindsight, it did spell or tell the tale of what was to come later on.
And I don't know if that moment necessarily determines the result, but you think about what Coxie has meant to the Collingwood faithful in prelims in recent times, and it's folklore. What happened, I think, was it 7 years ago now against the Tigers? But yeah, for him to get that moment and make Harris Andrews think about him very, very early in the game, like you can't begin to describe how influential that can be for the rest of the quarter and potentially the rest of the match. So again, I'm not saying it's the difference between it's winning and losing, but I reckon if you go back and watch the tape, there's probably 10, 15, 20 like just little errors that occur throughout this game. And yes, we went on that run and kicked, I think, 6 goals in a row in the second term, Lukey. But were there any other moments where you felt that unfortunate Cox error early was then replicated throughout the match? Like, because to me, we could probably unpack moments in each quarter where you just can't turn the ball over. You just can't miss that snap out of the contest. And yeah, I don't know, just too many for me across this game.
Well, the most ironic thing was he did kick the first goal still, Coxie. So, but it did shift. If it's so funny and so weird to think about that first 20, 30 seconds could be the difference in the game, but it did it would have erupted the MCG on the night had he marked that and goes back and kicks it just to start the game. But we don't quite get that. Jeremy Howe kicking it straight down Brisbane's throat inside defensive 50 very early as well to sort of get their run on. Obviously, we haven't touched on it, but you know, Tim Membry not going back and having the shot. And I think just across the board, it felt like we were fumbly, players weren't clean, weren't making the best decisions with ball in hand, and it just, as the last few months of this season has felt, it's just felt like everyone was 1% off, and it just multiplied and multiplied as the night went on. And I said during the game at one point, it feels like everyone's just not, turned up tonight at all. Like everyone's playing their worst game they could have possibly played. There's no one I can think of that's playing well other than Nick Dacos, but even him, he was not quite at his best as well, I thought. So just, as it has been for Collingwood this season, when one guy, 2 guys, 3 guys, it multiplies into the rest of the team. And thankfully we did have accuracy on our side this night, which kept us in it, but I think we were 9-2 at one point or 10-2, and if you just think, I was thinking, if we were a bit inaccurate, we would have been done big time. So outside of that second quarter run, the rest of the game, it felt like it was well on Brisbane's terms, which, was never going to be a good result for us.
Yeah, the fumbling was the big one for me. You just don't expect it. We saw it with Adelaide in the qualifying final, the complete opposite. And you could probably understand it a little bit more because I haven't been in that situation before. We had the week off, should have been refreshed and energised, and we looked anything but, unfortunately, coming into the match. We touched on the Pendles thing. There's been a lot discussed about if he was actually injured in the warm-up, should he have even played at all. Nathan Buckley on SEN today said that he had abductor tightness in his left leg as early as the Melbourne game in the last round of the season, had to do some light training, got through the qualifying final despite not fully training much during that week, got through it unscathed. And again, your mental capacity, you probably think, if I can get through that and another 2 weeks off, I can get through a preliminary final, and he shut down. It's not necessarily on field, although that is a big part to Pendlebury's game still, even at this late age. It's not necessarily on field as I think was the biggest impact with him going out, but it's the presence, it's the calm nature in those situations. His quarterback role that he can play in defensive 50, that really was missing when he wasn't out there. So it is a shame. And we were speaking off air before we started. It would have felt cruel to be in a grand final next week without Pendlebury by our side, because we knew that he probably wasn't going to get up if we did win on Saturday. But we talk about moments, and that's probably one of the most underrated ones to come out of the weekend.
Yeah, and I actually recall looking at where he started at half back, and I know that he's gone and done a job at half back over the course of the season when we've netted him behind the ball, particularly late in games. But I thought to myself, Pendle's starting a match at half back feels a bit off. Like I would have expected him to be in the middle at bare minimum, and how he was on the bench, which I expected. So I was like, okay, maybe Pendles has gone back for a bit of experience just in case Brizzy get a hot start. But yeah, there's obviously that vision of the doctor giving him a bit of a chat before the bounce, and then unfortunately we know what happened. I think within 5 minutes of the game, he was pulled up lame, and sure enough, I can't remember Pendles exiting a game on a soft tissue injury, I don't know, ever, but like it feels like that because he's such an elite preparer. So it feels cruel that for a guy of his stature and how long a statesman of the game to pull up short in that regard. But I just, can't help but feel that whatever we're going to see next season is really, if this was sort of the last opportunity for this aging list to really have a crack at it, it doesn't get any easier next season. So really feel for Pendles. Thought he carried himself extremely well trying to get around the boys at quarter time and showing up like the professional that he is. But seeing that look on his face at the back of the bench throughout the game as I was sort of checking my phone, hard to watch, Lukey.
Well, I think obviously we felt it as supporters that how can we go to a grand final next week without Pendles, let alone potentially win one without him. And I'm sure he would have had similar feelings sitting on the bench. Such an incredible career, and to sort of potentially be at the point of missing a potential grand final had we win this match, it would have been heartbreaking for him. So, and sort of didn't find out till after the game, but throughout the game I'm thinking maybe they've pulled the pin in the hope that he can still potentially get up next week. But then I'm thinking, well, we still have to win this week, so why are we
I think if they're doing it 5 minutes into the game, Lukey, I just didn't. It was more of a bit of a hope as well, like if we do win, hopefully he can get up next week. But as soon as you find out it's a calf, it's sort of, it's always 3 weeks at a minimum, and for someone like Pendle's a bit older, it's probably a touch longer. So it's just ironic, this management of this Collingwood season in terms of being so far ahead on top of the ladder and being in that position where we could manage players. It ended up biting us in the arse, really. We've going into a prelim, we've underdone players and pulling a sub within 5 minutes and being a man down. So, and quick shout out to Roan Steele, who I thought was pretty solid once he did have to come on. First preliminary final, biggest crowd he's ever played. under, and I thought he held his own pretty well. So he's definitely a player of the future. But speaking of players that came in undone, so we'll touch on Jeremy Howe and Brodie Mychek, who were the two biggest storylines that came out of the match, in my opinion. Jeremy Howe looking nothing like himself, really disappointing. And again, it's not just him, but yeah, just didn't look like he was up for it. Wasn't leaping to be that third man up and play that intercept role as we had seen. Poor by foot, making some decisions we don't expect to see. And then Brodie Mychek was basically a non-factor on Saturday. Just got nowhere near it. Had a raging shot on goal very early in the match, a quick snap. I think it was a stoppage within the first 5 minutes of the game. But apart from the handball he gave over to, I think, Elliott or Schultz, who ran into the open goal in that second term, there wasn't really much about Brodie Mychek, and you could just tell that he was underdone and not up to scratch. And as we said off air, Marcus, a hell of a lot of painkillers going into that dislocated toe to try and get himself right. But in hindsight, the right call to play those two?
Well, I mean, the result speaks for itself on paper. I think we were all very much hoping that they could get up and play well. But really, even if we had have got a bit more on our terms, I just don't see how guys who are carrying these ailments can really thrive in a preliminary final atmosphere, let alone a home and away game. Like, you're not risking guys with the nature of the injuries that they had. So I think for Checkers, it was just a really hard watch. Nico, how he took a couple of marks and he was in a few contests, obviously nowhere near his capabilities, but I just felt like Checkers was running around and a bit like a chook with his head cut off. He would get near the ball, but he couldn't jump for the ball. And a lot of the time, he just wasn't in the mix, to the point where I felt like we're actually looking for Coxie as our sort of prime target, if not Billy Elliott, of course, trying to get him space out the back. But there was a huge disconnect between sort of from the wing to the hitting zone, just at the sort of 50-metre line. We just weren't getting entries and we weren't getting marks that were allowing us to control the ball forward. And we tried to get our handball game going, but the Lions are just so skilled at intercepting and turning the ball over. And unfortunately, I think, we just had a couple of structural elements that were missing on the night, and it just went a long way to, unfortunately, not helping us get over the line.
McStay.
Well, we were just saying as well. So imagine how he's feeling. We're paying him a big wage, and to be fair, hasn't been up to scratch. So you could argue that it was warranted he didn't play.
He hasn't been that far off the pace that if the thoughts were he probably isn't up to it, that McStay's.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
no. You felt like you had to play.
Retrospectively, McStay should have played this game, and it might not have made a massive difference, but at least we would have had some. Someone to kick to inside forward 50 outside of Cox.
And I think that's where a lot of the commentators in the media outlets are questioning the selection integrity. And I think it's made worse by the Pendlebury injury, which, again, could have happened to anyone, but of course it's our oldest player on the list. So it reinforces the argument that coming in with two guys who were so underdone, when you've got a fit forward, supposedly, because I still think McStay's had his moments throughout the season where he hasn't been jumping at the footy and that sort of thing, whether that was his role or whether that's his physical health, I'm not sure. But I guess, on reflection, would preferred someone who was able to run the match out because, Checkers just had no influence.
And Bobby.
Well, you great segue. So we're stressing the fact that it probably wouldn't have changed the result of the game too much. Is there any doubt in your mind that we made the wrong or right call about playing Bobby this week?
Again, there's a part of me that wants to honour the selection integrity and not picking him, given he'd played one full match in
round 15,
close to 3 months. Exactly. That's a long time ago, round 15. So, it's really easy to sit in this chair and look back on it and say, if he was fit enough and fitter than Checkers, do we go with a different forward line mix? But I think that if we were to say no to Brodie, then it would have had to have been Dan McStay based on structure. But all things considered, I think I'll look back and as uncomfortable as I am knowing that Bobby wasn't out there because he would have been electric and he could have really brought something to the table, I think that I really respect Fly for sticking true in the coaching panel because he just hadn't put enough work to get to that prelim.
It wasn't even an emergency, so I guess that also tells you a bit too.
And obviously we don't know everything that's going on behind the four walls and in terms of training and training loads and all that kind of thing, but it's just that little hint of roll the dice. It's do or die. You just never know. He doesn't need to be the fittest guy in the world, but if he pops up for 2 or 3 goals, gets the crowd involved, a dash down the wing, a run down tackle, anything, like play him as a sub. I know this week he would have been on pretty early if he was the sub, but just
So that's the other thing as well. So you're making a plan, and I reckon we would have planned for Howie to be in that scenario where he probably doesn't end up playing a full game or even a my check, depending on the situation of the match. But the fact that we had to make a call so early, it probably helped that we didn't pick Bobby, because imagine having to inject him into the game 5 minutes into the match. I mean, it almost loses its effect.
So just that little bit of what could have been, but it's obviously easy to look back now that we have lost, and felt it was a killer across the back end of the season, just that X factor in the forward line and difference maker, but can't rely on one guy to win a premiership. So
we won't look into too many specifics of this match, again, more so because there's nothing to work on for this week because we're not playing. But the one thing I will say before we do move on is that the most unfortunate part, taking away individual performances, is how similar this game was to last time we did play the Brisbane Lions, despite the fact that we had a much stronger side out there. Got absolutely destroyed minus 69 in disposals, minus 5 in inside 50s, minus 9 in clearances, minus 13 in stoppage clearances, minus 36 in marks, minus 8 in tackles. Brisbane scored 65 points from stoppages, 4 goals from inside 50 stoppages, and 6 goals from stoppages in the third quarter alone, which was all the goals they kicked in that quarter. No goals were kicked from Collingwood from defensive 50 chains in the opening 3 terms, which has been our bread and butter in season 2025. Identical, you could argue, to what took place only a month or so ago against this Brisbane team, which I think, and got to give full credit to Brisbane here, because they were hungry for the contest, they brought the pressure, and they were the ones forcing us to turn the ball over and give them the control of the match that they so desired, apart from that second quarter really, but for the majority of the match, it was on Brisbane's terms. We were only ever scoring goals from their turnovers, and we just weren't generating enough of that pressure to force those turnovers to allow us to kick scores. So, for me, as much as there were individual performances at play and underdone players, the fact that we pretty much put in the same performances we did last time, I think is the most disappointing part.
For sure. And last time it was Lachie Neale who had 35-odd disposals and was one of a few players in their midfield to absolutely murder us at the stoppage and create all of these scoring opportunities that we weren't able to. And this time around it was McCluggage and Ashcroft not far behind. Zach Bailey was influential as well. And it wasn't just the score from stoppage, even though that was an enormous part of the game. It was also, as we were speaking about off-air, Nico, just the way they were able to control the uncontested marks around the ground, and they're able to make the ground big, and they're able to find these short passes. They just looked, they were in almost like so synchronized the way they were moving the ball, and then we would potentially turn it over, and then it was rushed, and then they'd have another player in the frame, and we wouldn't. And so it was very difficult to see, even by sort of half time, even though we were in front. Like, again, the scoreboard pressure, we were relying on accuracy, which was nice because we often aren't accurate, but I just wasn't confident it was going to stack up in that second half unless we just came out and absolutely blitzed it in the first 5-10 minutes, which we did not. So very disappointing, Lukey, that we unfortunately appeared to not learn our lessons from the encounter in round 21 or whatever it was.
I've seen Jack at halftime, and that's what he said, was that it was the chipping around, letting them play around with the footy, uncontested marks that was killing him, and that was halftime. We were up by 13. I think it was in that third, maybe it was in the fourth quarter, when they chipped it around for about 2 minutes.
I know what game, the last goal of the third quarter.
And so it was when obviously the game was on and when then they kicked it inside, and Rayner was all by himself. Oh my God. I said it was the most embarrassing moment of this season. It was disgusting that we let that happen. Firstly, letting them chip it around where there were moans and groans throughout the crowd, because they weren't just chipping around, they were actually moving forward.
It was playing chess.
They were moving forward with it. They weren't just, kicking backwards for the sake of it. But the fact that Rayner was by himself, he was actually by himself. The most dangerous Brisbane player inside forward 50 was by himself after having an eternity to work things out. it was that summed it up for me. I probably was at the point of we're not winning this, and if we somehow win it, we aren't winning next week with that. So very disappointing, and I got no more words for that. It was.
No, you're right. It was.
I wasn't even angry. I was just like disappointed. Like, come on, like it's not good enough.
It just seemed like we were checked out at that point. Really,
in a prelim final to let that happen, and that's why this atmosphere was incredible. It was a really good game of footy, but it just didn't feel like a prelim to me. It wasn't a contested, tough game to score. It was very free-flowing and open, and the Friday night game was similar. Neither felt like pure prelims that you get at this time of the year, and that's probably why it didn't feel like we'd lost a prelim.
Maybe. Yeah, it's a fair point to make.
It does right now, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely it does.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear the Bronx cheers for my check, by the way, in the last quarter?
In the last term, he marked it right in front of me. But I just, I didn't get around it, but I could almost feel it coming when the ball was in the air, Nico.
Yeah.
And
that's a sad state of affairs. I mean,
not ideal.
No. Again, there's not really much else to dissect from this match. We've spoken about the main parts. Is there anything we've missed?
Just to comment on the way that because they had so much uncontested ball and they were just able to allow their half-backs to get into the game, dare I say his bloody name, but Zorko and Darcy Wilmot and even Archie on that wing, like they just got their sort of depth players into the game and they were controlling it in the midfield, allowing that to happen. And I just felt like, our middle band players, such as, your Ned Longs, I don't want to say his middle band, but based on his performances here, like Dan Houston, these guys who just weren't able to create that dash and run. And obviously we had to play Josh more in the midfield due to Pendle's going down, but it just didn't look like the Collingwood we've known to move the ball well at times throughout this season. But the reality is, boys, with the fact that we haven't beaten a top 8 side since May, bar the Adelaide final, it does leave a lot of things to be dissected over the course of the off season because I think there's, as you said, there's some cracks that have been shown. We've tried to pave them over, but we're going to have a really good hard look at the way we stack up deep into a season with all the experience we've got. It's served us very well, but there's change on the horizon, Nico.
Yeah, and I was just thinking sort of the second half of this season, off memory, I know we probably don't need to touch on Carlton, but I think their 2023 season finished off similar, where their back end of the season they did lose a lot of footy but managed to get to a prelim. And it just continued to flow into 2024. But because you've come off a prelim, you don't really think it, stacks up. We're good enough to still be a top 4 side. But
I think Sydney's the big example.
That's the worry, is the flow on into next season if, we don't make changes list-wise, structurally. I think, this is probably Craig McRae's biggest off-season as Collingwood coach coming up, because I just don't think heading into this season from last season, we were probably good enough to go all the way, but heading from this season into next season, we're a mile off, I think.
Well, teams are going to get better around us, so that's the thing. And
less time to prepare before round 1 next year.
Correct.
Round 0.
Yeah, whatever it is. It'll be February at this point. On that, so I'm sure there's so many discussions to be had about list management and what the future does look like for this squad. We're going to park that discussion for our season review. A, because we're probably going to get more information by then about where players are at, but B, it's probably the more opportune time to sort of reflect and see what that does look like going forward. So we'll leave those particular discussions for that episode, which will either be next week or the week after. Votes from this game. Good luck.
Yeah, one vote I went to Nick, and he did try his
one vote.
Role changed. Yeah, okay. I just felt like the influence of his possessions while he was there and there again, Nico, it just wasn't as impactful. And again, the Pendles thing probably plays into that story. 2 have gone to Josh. I thought that he held up really strong and a lot of metres gained and trying to get the ball forward. But unfortunately, some of those disposals not hitting the target or not being able to find one up forward. And then 3 votes have obviously gone with Billy Elliott for an all-time performance. That mark in particular will, remember forever. A bit like the Bobby Hill mark in the 2023 grand final. Just we'll never forget it.
And Starcevic again. How funny was that?
True. Should have been 5 goals with the free kick, but that wouldn't have decided the match. So 3 votes to Billy. Lukey.
Yeah, I'll go 1 vote Josh, 2 votes Nick, and 3 votes Billy Elliott. It was there's probably no one else you can give a vote to be honest.
Same 3. Shooter, I think, deserves some credit.
Shooter,
He's probably right in the mix. I thought he had a solid game as well, and we just can't underestimate the pressure and the much improved the campaign that he has had. DC in the same boat. Thought he was the best of the 2 rucks throughout the night.
Was there and thereabouts.
Bo was here and there. Again,
full-time midfielder next year, Bo.
Oh, him and Perryman, I would love to see just stay in that midfield from start to finish. So let's move now to SpeakPie. This will be the last one of the year, obviously, but thank you so much for everybody that has embraced this segment. We have absolutely loved including it onto the pod this year, and it's been great to hear the voices of our Pies Nation army, so it will definitely stick around for future years.
Before we get into potentially the final one for the year, a favourite SpeakPie that comes to mind, gentlemen?
Ooh,
just reflecting quickly.
I reckon Josie and the umpires has to be right up there. And then I can't remember who it was. It might have been Geordie at the start of the year that gave a serve to Jack for Bo McCreary, not giving him the pie that caught his eye after he had a bit of a go at him. There's a few others.
There was also that one. Some guy's partner was like, "What are you doing?"
Oh yes, the partner one.
That got me good.
Yes, that actually was that was early on as well. That was funny.
And of course, Colin,
Irvin, all the regulars that have come through.
Great initiative.
So it's been fantastic, and as we said, definitely something that we will continue to implement going forward. But we got so many after this prelim, as you would imagine. Can't play them all. We just won't have the time, but let's just run through as many as we can, I think. Alistair's given us an 8-second one, so let's start with Alistair.
Won't say too much, but still love the club. They did their best. So on to next year, I guess.
Yeah, that's all he had to say. Marcus was also a regular, so he's been in Dallas, he's been in Denver, he's in Denver, and this is him signing off.
Fuck me. Tough watch. We were robbed of a good finish on that one. Fucking umpires. There's got to be some accountability there because, honestly, I reckon Jamie gets that free kick. 1 goal, we got the momentum. I reckon we win that game. 5 goals just looked terrible on the score sheet, but it wasn't that kind of game. Fuck, that guy's a jet. Tell you what, give him whatever he wants. If a small / mid-sized forward is our entire forward line, pay the man. He's a fucking cult hero and he needs to stay in the black and white. Charlie Kerner would be pretty handy as a key forward, but don't know any chances on getting that.
Going to Geelong.
Good season overall. I know we said flag flies in the beginning, but honestly, I reckon either one of these teams gets their pants beaten off by Geelong. So I'm pretty glad that they're not going to be the ones to crush my soul this year. Look, good year. Rebuild, pay Jamie, flag pies 26. Great segment this, lads. So keep it up. Hooroo. What?
There you go. That's Marcus. So thank you very much.
Forgot about the Kerno news and
He's going to Geelong.
Stephen May news.
Yeah, there's. I'm warning you now. There are a lot of references to these umpires. Jamie signing on, and that's pretty much the basis of it. But we'll smash through. Lockie is next. Thank you, Lockie.
First of all, congratulations, fellas. I saw you on the big screen at the MCG. That's a pretty big get, so well done. At the end of the day, we lost to the better side. We were not there with our hands, with our communication, and with our tackling. It was quite poor. We weren't able to stick tackles, and when we had slight opportunities to get the ball down, we just didn't do it. So credit to Brisbane. They were the better team. And I hope they flog Hawthorn. We've got our fellas signed on for another year at least for the old fellas, and then another few for the core. So all the best for the Pies in the future. I hope the podcast has a fruitful and successful future. Go Pies!
Yeah, thank you, Lockie. I think he's in an alternate universe if he thinks Hawthorn are playing this week. But,
How did you feel seeing your mug on the big screen, by the way? Just a little bit of me time.
Were you there?
I was walking into the ground as it happened.
It was
and
actually,
then-
it felt surreal, and it wasn't even me. It was me watching
was
you, and I was like,
weird.
holy cow, this is cool.
The thing is, and I was going to touch on it later, but seeing as you've brought it up now, thank you for everybody that has sent through some kind words after getting featured by the Pies this week. We did have Luke from Collingwood come in and help record our 200th
Absolute
episode.
star, Luke.
Yeah, he's terrific. He's been around for a while and a great fella. And yeah, managed to get 90 seconds onto the little show that they do each week. But it was surreal. I mean, you follow this club from birth and you just don't feel like you'll ever be as involved as you are. And I still just feel like a regular fan. But yeah, it was an unbelievable experience to see that. And then I didn't even know that they were going to have us on the actual big screen on game day in a preliminary final of all things. I mean,
Enormous.
it's been an unbelievable week for the pod, 200 episodes, lots of love, lots of support. So that's been great. Only thing we had to do was bloody win, and we didn't even do that, but that's okay. No, it's been fun. So yes, thank you for everyone. To answer your question, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it felt. It's just
Surreal.
But I'll enjoy it. I'll soak it up and
Very
I'll just
good.
add it to the resume. Brandon is next. Thank you, Brandon.
Haven't gone back to watch the Vision. That's, fuck me, that was the most pivotal point in a prelim decided by a fuckwit in yellow that I can remember. That is, oh yuck. Anyway, good year. Fucking gross.
As I said, most of the theme. Elisa is next. So thank you very much for sending yours in.
Hi, Pies Nation. It's Elisa here. Oh, my goodness. That was absolutely devastating. The umpires absolutely crucified us, which completely ruined any run that we had. And I know we shouldn't blame them, but I'm blaming them because every time we got a roll on, they would just do anything they could to cut it down. Absolutely devastated. Definitely not the way we wanted to go out. Everyone here is just crushed. And I don't even know what to say. Please do not let Jamie Elliott go. And the only other thing that I have to say is, yes, if you were in the Ponsford and some chick was yelling at you for leaving early, that was me. And I am fuming. If you can't stay to support them to the end after the crazy, amazing years that we've had, what kind of fan are you? And I know you guys will agree. So on to 2026. Come on, Pies.
No. So I said that on the night as well. I said, all these people leaving, yous would have been crying for grand final tickets had we won. You can stick around to the end. And
100%.
Yeah, I felt that was very, you know, not obviously people beat the traffic and all this kind of stuff, but
Not for a prelim.
we go and win that game. Yeah. You're there for another half an hour after the game, celebrating,
Correct.
having fun, like hugging randoms because we're going to a grand final. And yeah, I was just like, all of you, I hope you never get a grand final ticket.
Did you see the Hawthorn clean out?
That was about 10
The
times
final
worse.
siren, there was no Hawthorn supporters in the crowd.
They
So
were
margin.
leaving, and then they had that little run.
Yeah, they
and
got to within 3 goals.
And I was like, this is going to be embarrassing if they come back and win, and all those people have already left. So just
There was none though. Like literally no one to clap them off.
100%.
it's you can't, not in a prelim. You shouldn't be going to a prelim if you're going to leave
I
early.
agree. No, it's a fantastic point by Elisa there. Al is next. Thank you.
Pies Nation, Al City here. I'm a Collingwood supporter in Brisbane. Tough night. I thought we competed hard. Geordie just looked like he couldn't go with it after that tackle in the second quarter. Losing penalties in the first was difficult, but I tell you, there's one moment in the game, I don't want to punish any particular player, but when Membry took that mark in the last quarter and he didn't go back and take ownership of kicking that goal, dished off to Elliott, and he couldn't take the mark. That was, you could tell in the pub I was at, everyone was going up. That was a huge moment, and we didn't, tonight, I think that's the story. Like, Fly talks about, making the moments, taking those moments. We just didn't take the moments tonight, and the better team won, unfortunately. chin up. We didn't have the best end of the season. We peaked too early, and we've got a bit of work to do in the off season, and we'll come back stronger, I think, as a group if we can learn from the parts of play that we could have done better. Absolutely killed me inside to watch Zorks kick that goal. But hey, I love this club. Love everything about it. Love the supporters. Love this podcast. And we'll go again next year. Cheers.
Thank you very much. We'll move to Nico. Who's next? Thank you.
Pies Nation boys, the morning after the night that was, gutted, disappointed, shattered, all those emotions after a prelim final loss. But yeah, just not good enough on the night. And I know the umpires were dog shit at times, but I think overwhelmingly Brisbane outplayed us for most of the game. Apart from that, really good second quarter we had. They bossed us around the midfield. McCluggage running right and around the stoppages. But the other annoying part was how many easy, soft forward 50 stoppage goals they were able to get. Super annoying. But look, prelims are hard to win and grand finals are hard to get into. So we've got to go again next year. Hopefully we're aggressive during the trade period. It'll be interesting to see how aggressive we are. We clearly need to fill some gaps in our team. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But boys, just want to thank you for the pod this year. Great to listen to. Heads up. We'll pick ourselves up and go again next year. Cheers, boys.
Thanks, Nico. Very
Thank
nice. Yeah, another one that had
Nico, not Sacco.
Nico, not Sacco. Well, I guess we have to add that. Who is next? Charlie's next. Thank you, Charlie.
Honestly, after this season so far, I think this Brisbane team just proved that we are too old to play this. I think we just have to reset, let Jamie walk, let Checkers walk. If we can get Kerno, maybe we can try again, but just play the youngsters, just restart. Obviously, you get Pendle's his games record, but this is just ridiculous at this point.
Guys, we're not getting Charlie Kerno. Just let it go. It's just not happening, please.
It would be funny, though.
It's not happening.
He's going somewhere away from the...
Yeah.
The only
he wants to get out of Melbourne,
club
doesn't he?
that you could go to that's bigger than the Blues is Collingwood. And that's the last thing that he wants.
Yeah.
So, Charlie will be by the ocean, I reckon.
Geelong.
Boy.
Julia is the next one up. Thank you.
Why did we play an injured Myercheck? If Pendlebury went down that early, you have to believe he knew before the game started that something wasn't right. Questioning selection choices, furious at some of those umpiring calls and especially non-calls. Just disappointed. But look, this has been a bloody impressive season. Really proud that we've gotten here. And right now, just hoping Collingwood offers Jamie Elliott whatever he wants. Like, please keep that man at the club. And for goodness sake, don't bring Stephen May over here.
That is the other thing. Again, ironic that we'd be bringing Stephen May here. But anyway. Sean. Sean's the next one up. Thank you. A few more to go.
Gentlemen, absolutely gutted. Sean from Yorkshire, UK. Don't really know what to say. It's not good, but try again next year, I suppose. Up the Pies.
About one word a second there, but yes, thank you, Sean, all the way from the UK.
From Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
Fantastic.
This is Marie and Isaac have both sent one in on behalf of...
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sitting here with my son, Isaac. We just got home from the game. I think we should be happy that the boys made it to the preliminary final. Isaac, do you agree?
Yeah, we did such a good season. It's been a great season, and how we've got so many records. And
yeah, we broke the record for consecutive games with Crispy.
And
obviously Pendles is on his way to the next record. Still Sidebottom's 350th game as well. But anyway, it's been a great season. The last few weeks have been tough, except for the Adelaide, of course, qualifying final, which was amazing to watch. However, the umpiring was dreadful. It was hard.
But you can't blame the umpires.
No, you can't. You can't make excuses. So we didn't take our opportunities, and flag pies 2026 onwards and upwards, and go the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
It takes for a child.
The wisdom from Isaac.
Yeah, to say you can't play.
Cutting through. Very good. Our first youngster.
We've had a couple. Yeah, but that's probably the first. Yeah, no, we've had a couple over.
Have we?
Yeah.
Okay. Take that back.
But very wise.
Very wise.
Love to know. Yeah, no, very good. All right, we've got two more to finish. This is Adele, who's been a regular as well. So thank you.
Hi guys. Firstly, thanks so much for all you've done this whole year. I really enjoy listening to you. It's really important part of my weekly routine leading up to the next game. So really appreciate that. Just coming out of this game, it is disappointing. But I think what we really need to work on is actually building our leadership in terms of someone else who can actually, play the conductor role. Because, 450 stoppage goals. Like, since when does that happen? There's absolutely sort of no organisation. And and I didn't feel like we even played any tempo today. Like, we just went fast, so Brisbane could slingshot back just as fast and we're out of position and things. So it's really, really uncharacteristic, which is, I think, disappointing. I think it points to the fact that Pendles wasn't there pulling the strings. We really need to look into that, I think. Can't just be on him. Anyway, enjoy the off season and be back for another wild ride next year.
It's a great point, and I did think about this yesterday in terms of how when Pendles hasn't played this season, Lukey's mentioned it a couple of times, we have to get used to what life looks like once he's gone. A bit like the Cats and Selwood in recent years, and geez, we felt it on this preliminary final, and it was abrupt and we weren't able to plan for it, but absolutely right. In the next season or so, someone else is going to have to take that mantle with that on-field leadership, and it's a bloody hard job being a player and a coach at the same time, but we are going to need someone to fill that void.
Correct. Yeah, great points. And he has all year, Adele, so thank you very much. Have not heard from Colin, which is a shame. I'm hoping we can get one in before the season review app, because I'd love to play one to finish off. But Irvin has been one that has always brought a lot of optimism and wisdom to the SpeakPie, and he's been terrific throughout the season. So as per, he sent one in, and we'll finish off with what he's had to say. So thank you.
Well, I think we can all just agree that that game is water under the bridge now. I don't think it's worth dissecting things because the season's over. And yeah, that free kick no call was rubbish, and it probably changed the game. Didn't lose us a game, but it definitely changed the game. But I think we can just all grieve together, And I think the reason a lot of us are grieving is because we went all in this year. And there's something quite admirable about the way we approached it. I think we were pretty defiant with the fact that a lot of the narrative was we're too old and too slow. And we did a really good job of fighting that narrative for a lot of the year. But unfortunately, I feel like it just caught up to us. And can't fight fate, unfortunately. And feels like because of that, because of our age, we're going to have some rough times ahead of us when we rebuild and phase out some of the more experienced players. But while it feels like the sun's setting on this iteration of Collingwood now, it's going to rise again at some point in the future. It could even be next year. Who knows? But when it does rise, it's going to be fucking beautiful. Anyways, thanks for a great year, boys. Side by side forever. Go Pies. 17 is still coming at some point. Maybe just not this year. Come on, go Pies.
Lovely way to finish.
I don't know about maybe not this year. It's definitely
not happening this year. No, but that's what the optimism of Irvin brings. He always is optimistic, even though it's physically impossible for us to win it this year. So that's SpeakPie. Thank you, everybody. We might do one for the season review. We'll see how we go. Maybe we can get a few more to help us reflect on the year. But from an in-season point of view, magnificent, everybody that has sent it in. So thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed listening to yourself on the Pies Nation podcast. All right, let's move very quickly. We're going to finish with Guess the Crowd because we always do. No Guess the Margin again, which sucks. Guess the Crowd, it was 96,000, Lukey. Probably more than I thought, to be honest. But in saying that, looking at the guesses, a lot thought it was at the 98 mark.
Well, I think just because the night before it was 99, whatever it ended up being. So I feel like the expectation was being Collingwood, it would be pretty close to that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Saturday 5:15 against the interstate side probably allows a couple thousand off, which is what ended up being 96,000. So I don't know. Do you remember what the prelim against the Giants was?
Oh, I can't off the top of my head. I don't think it was that much.
The crowd.
No, off the top of my head.
I'll find that out, but I should have researched that. But it was a massive crowd. But I think just the fact that the night before was 99, it just probably felt less than what it should have been. But
we are speaking to
Kelly.
Beautiful.
So she was about 100 off.
Lovely.
So she's pretty close. So yeah, look
All right.
forward to it.
Let's get Kelly on the line and have a quick chat. Oh, no.
I just pre-warned her.
Hello, Kelly speaking.
Hey, Kelly. It's Nicholas from the Pies Nation podcast. How you going?
Oh, well, yourself?
Not too bad. Well done for being our final Guess the Crowd competition winner for season 2025.
Thank you.
Unfortunate that it's in the circumstances of a preliminary final loss, but well done nonetheless. And we'd love to know first and foremost your method. We always like to know how you get to the guesses and what was it on this occasion that made you guess closer to the pin?
Well, I've had a few guesses for Guess the Crowd. I usually do a bit of research and go based on averages. But this time around, I just thought it's going to be a big crowd. A lot of people were going about around the 100K mark. I sort of thought, I might go a little bit less than that. And so I ended up on 96K. And I thought I'm just going to make up the rest and then just hit the keypad and then ended up with, I think, 127.
Yeah, it's been the trend this year. It's a mix of putting some time into thinking what it could be and then just having some random numbers at the end of it just to see.
Yeah, I think the random numbers worked for me in the end.
It looks like it did because we've got you on right now. So good stuff, Kelly. We've just had a pretty sad episode of the pod just going through what took place in the prelim, but we'd love to get your thoughts on how you felt Saturday night played out.
I was probably much the same. Very sad and disappointed. It always hurts, doesn't it? But yeah, I guess the first two quarters were good. Had momentum in the second quarter, kicked 6 in a row. And then we just didn't carry any of that momentum into the third quarter. Brisbane got, first 4 goals. And Cam Rayner going forward worked really well for them. And fourth quarter was much the same. Struggled to get the game on our terms. And Brisbane were the better side on the day.
G'day, Kelly. It's Luke here. Great to get you on, even though you took a while to answer after I gave you a bit of pre-warning.
Oh, that's harsh. Come on, Lukey.
Jeez. We were just touching on, I guess, looking towards next season a little and where this list is at. Do you have any, I guess, concerns for the short-term future, I guess, into next season with where we're at the moment, or are you still optimistic that we can make a real run at the premiership in season 2026?
That's a good question. I really don't know how to feel, to be honest, because last year, when I was sort of having the same thinking about this, I thought, I hate to say this, but I felt like we were too old. I don't think we can do it. I don't think we can compete with like the likes of Hawthorn, for example. But anyway, I was totally wrong this year. They proved me wrong. I thought, and people started saying, that we weren't old, that we were experienced. So, I hate to make assumptions now. But yeah, I think we need to make some changes. In particular, I would probably like to see maybe another key forward would be nice. Yeah, that's probably my thoughts for now.
G'day, Kelly. Marcus here. Thanks for your input so far. I'm going to steer away from an unfortunate result in the prelim and turn our attention, being a Monday night, to the Brownlow. Is Nick going to take it home?
I really hope so. He's been so unlucky the past few years. Like, he's only just missed out. But yeah, really, really hope that he's going to win. I know that you've been keeping tally, so I'm not sure what your tally ended up on. But
I can't remember either, but as long as it's around his neck at about 10:30 tonight, we'll all be happy. So thank you for agreeing.
Yeah, that was good.
No, absolutely. Well, Kelly, it's been great to have you on, and it's been great to get your insight. Again, we wish it was in happier circumstances, but nonetheless, always great to get the fans involved, and you are certainly no exception. So well done on being our Guess the Crowd competition winner for this week, and hopefully in 12 months' time, we're celebrating a premiership together.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks Kelly.
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 All right, see you guys.
And that was Kelly, as part of our Guess the Crowd competition. Another great segment that we've had on the Pies Nation podcast this year. So thank you, everybody that did get involved across season 2025. We always get so many comments on those pages each and every week when Lukey puts them up. So it is a credit to our Pies Nation army. So thank you again. Something that will be back this time next year. So we're looking forward to getting everybody involved.
Just quickly, the crowd for the prelim in 23 was 97,665. So
there you go.
It was bigger than this one.
Yes. AFLW, the Pies unfortunately went down to the Hawks by 9 points at Victoria Park. We did have 15 scoring shots, though. We finished 3 goals, 12. So we just, unfortunately, inaccuracy got the better of us on that occasion. But the big positive, Ash Centra is putting together a really nice few weeks. She was the Rising Star nominee last week, 24 disposals and a goal to lead the way for the Pies, which is very, very impressive. Britt Benici had another solid performance with 23 touches. Ruby Slisher kicked a goal, went up forward, had 10 tackles. So it is building really nicely. We mentioned last week, Lukey, of course, the fact that we got that nice win over Sydney, which was a big surprise and shows that we're in the right direction with the women's program, which is good news. This week, the Pies are taking on the Bulldogs. That one's at Whitten Oval, and that is a Friday night game. So Friday night between the Doggies and the Pies at Whitten Oval, 7:15 p.m. AEST. So good stuff from the girls.
How are we sitting on the ladder at the moment?
Well,
then?
funny you ask. I was just about to say the Doggies 1-5, Nico.
Yes.
And we sit at 2-4 and 14th. So this should be a gettable win, you would hope.
And it was just, I wasn't on last week's episode, but massive win against Sydney,
Huge.
who
Scalp.
were almost probably the second best in it behind North.
You'd say so for sure.
So massive to get that. So it's probably not going to be this year, but pieces are moving in the right direction.
Got a pretty tough fixture. Yeah, to be honest. But anyway, that's okay. So no, good.
Is anyone going to beat North?
No one's beaten North. No one's getting close. They had the grand final rematch last week, and they still won by 6 goals at this route. So
the Blues.
Absurd. All right. So as we said, we've got a season review episode that's coming up. I said it'll either be next week or the week after. We might just need to settle a little bit after what's been a pretty long season. What I want to get from you boys before we wrap up, I want a grand final prediction. I want a Nick Dacos Brownlow prediction and a sneaky Brownlow prediction because it's just about to get underway as we're recording.
So who wins the grand?
So let's do the grand final first.
Oh, couldn't give a shit, but the Cats reluctantly.
Yeah.
I think Nick finishes on 31 votes, and hopefully that's enough for a tied win.
Is that what we got in the Nick Dacos Brownlow tracker?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was roughly that. I've lost track. There's a lot going on in my mind, Nico.
Of course.
And a sneaky. I actually didn't mind your shout for Noah Anderson. Come from nowhere late in the season, Lukey.
Cats by 5, just in the hope that it's a good grand final because we don't get many. And honestly, it's been, in my opinion, probably bar the week 1 of the finals, pretty lackluster final series. So I'd like to see.
Yeah. When we're in it, it's usually
has been
good though.
So I don't really care who wins, to be honest, but I'd like to just have a good game of footy. So and Brownlow Nick 36 votes. I've seen a few trackers where it's got him roughly around that 30, late 30s mark. So I think he will still poll quite high, but it's another story if he wins it.
Sneaky? Anyone?
Sneaky, I was going to say Matty Rao, but if Noah Anderson is getting a lot of votes too, I don't know if Rao can
I'll
win.
pinch
it.
them off each other for sure.
Yeah. I think, Nick will get lucky in terms of I don't think many Magpies are pinching from him, but he'll also get the curse of he's so good that they're probably looking elsewhere for votes.
Potentially.
Same as us when we come in here and do our votes. Like Nick's had 40 and 3 goals, but, he only gets 1 vote. So, yeah. What about yourself, Nico?
Cats will be in front by 5 points about 30 seconds into the game, I reckon, and then they'll go on to win by 60 because they are just
I
don't want it to happen, but I just think it will. I think. And I don't want to take anything away from Brisbane because they were outstanding against us and they're a great outfit. I just think, and I really believe they're going to play Lockie Neal, and I reckon it's going to bite them in the arse. I really do, because it's just not something you can
Cats
risk.
look so good, don't they?
They do.
That
They've
was
got
their
hardly any. I know they're going to lose Tom Stewart, but I feel like they'll be okay to replace that. So Cats win big.
Just quickly, does Chol get 3 weeks if Hawthorn?
Absolutely not.
Hawthorn are in there?
Absolutely
He
not.
wouldn't. I don't reckon he would have got anything.
It's going to the Supreme Court.
How's he got 3 all of a sudden?
If Kennett's paying.
The AFL, they were very happy that, that didn't
huge.
happen eventually.
I think Nick Dacos will win on 27 votes because I reckon they're going to overcorrect from last year, seeing as Cripps won it with 45, and they are going to really try to not give those.
45?
Absurd. So I reckon they're going to overcorrect, and it'll be a low vote count, and I reckon hopefully Nick can squeeze in that respect and still win. I said off air that Noah Anderson was the one I think for me. Watch out for Tom Green as well. I reckon he could poll pretty well for the Giants. And then very last thing before we go, Luca, you weren't here last week, but we celebrated our 200 episodes, and you've been a massive part of that across the journey as well. I think you're hitting your 150 episode mark very soon, so we'll celebrate that next year, I'm sure. But, you've ran the page from the start. As I said, you've been integral. You've been with us from episode 1. And I just want to give you the opportunity to say a few words because I'm sure you've had a lot of time to reflect on how big and how successful so far this podcast has been. And from our point of view, we couldn't be happy to have you on board, mate.
I gave you some nice words last week, Nico. I was glad
it's about you this time.
I'm glad it made the SpeakPie, but credit to you as well, Marcus, being here since the very start of the podcast and in an integral role. And I think you offer that real point of difference to sort of myself, Nico, and Jack, just a bit more eloquent with your words. And I think the fans really do appreciate that. And for myself, I've loved Collingwood my whole life, but running a fan page was just my way of being able to connect with the broader Collingwood community initially, and then the opportunity that I got to do a podcast, which was never in my wildest dreams and never been more anxious in my life than the first day doing the episodes, and never being behind a camera, never being behind a microphone, and doing that from the very start. So it was an experience, but very grateful to still be here 7 years later and pumping out 200 episodes and being on YouTube and, the big screen. Well, I wasn't on the big screen, but the podcast being on the big screen at the footy and Collingwood's YouTube channel. It's been a big ride and a fun ride, but it's all about just coming here and having a rant about the weekend just gone. And I do say it's the best part of it is that's all I do through the week is talk about footy to people, and then I get to come here and actually sit down and behind the microphone and get to do it. So it is a lot of fun, and I hopefully many more episodes and years to come with both of you and Jack as well.
100%. No, it's been great. It's been a big week for the pod. We're very grateful for all the support, and we'll do some proper thank yous for our season review app. But let's relax. Let's just enjoy whatever's to come. We'll see you again week or two, but we'll definitely have a season review episode for you coming up. So till then, Marcus, Luke, thank you, boys.
Thank you.
Got through it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Collingwood.
Well done.
Thanks,
I
Collingwood.
guess. Thank you, Collingwood. Until next time, I've been Nicholas Sacco. You've been listening to or watching the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. Our show wouldn't be possible in 2025 without the ongoing support of the North Texas Devils. They're led by a great Collingwood man in Peter Wood. And just like the Pies have been here, the North Texas Devils have been thriving over in the US, just coming off a Central Regional Championship. And now they're looking to go all the way in the Nationals in Arizona later this year. The Devils are still looking to recruit new and established players for the season, so if any of our listeners or viewers are heading to the States over the next couple of months, are keen to get their Aussie rules fixed, the North Texas Devils are the team for you. Contact details can be found in our description no matter how you consume our podcast, or you can head to ntxdevils.com to learn more. So thanks again to the Devils for sponsoring the Pies Nation podcast in 2025.